Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today we continue our series building decks led by the new legendary creatures from the Final Fantasy set. Leading today's deck is none other than Venat, Heart of Hydaelyn. Of course, after we had a deck led by Zodiark yesterday, today should be led by Hydaelyn. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Venat, Heart of Hydaelyn is a 3-mana legendary 3/3 Elder Wizard. Whenever we cast a legendary spell, we draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Additionally, we may pay 7 mana and tap Venat. If we do, we exile target non-land permanent. We then transform Venat, but we can only activate this ability as a sorcery. Transformed, Venat becomes Hydaelyn, the Mother Crystal, a legendary 4/4 god with Indestructible. She also has the Blessing of Light. At the beginning of combat on our turn, she puts a +1/+1 counter on another target creature we control. Until our next turn, that creature gains Indestructible. If that creature is legendary, we draw a card. So, spoiler alert, Venat becomes Hydaelyn. Except, if you've played Final Fantasy XIV, the spoiler is that Hydaelyn was once one of the Ancients from back before the world was sundered. Okay, now to continue yesterday's story and explain what happened. This is some serious spoiler territory, so please skip ahead if you're planning on playing Final Fantasy XIV. I'm serious. This is like 400 hours of gameplay to get to this point. Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, as well as the next 4 expansions, tell the story of the battle between Hydaelyn and Zodiark. So to tell her story, we should start at the beginning. When you first roll a character in Final Fantasy XIV, you hear a voice telling you to hear, feel, think. With that, you, as the main character of the story, gain the Blessing of Light from Hydaelyn, the Mother Crystal. As you travel throughout the world, this mysterious gift helps you in a variety of ways. Specifically, you're able to defeat primals. In Final Fantasy XIV, primals are gods summoned by the desperate. They sacrifice ether, usually in the form of crystals, to summon a god. This god then takes over their minds. But due to the Blessing of Light, we are immune from the primal's influence. Again and again, we are sent into battle to defeat these primals and bring peace to the land. Left unchecked, these beings would bring about untold havoc and destruction. Okay, Danon, but what about Hydaelyn? Have patience, dear viewer. Eventually, we learn that the Ascians, ancient immortal sorcerers, have been teaching people how to summon for millennia. They've been keeping the tradition alive, specifically to sow chaos. They want nations to fall and empires to crumble. In fact, they've been trying to create cataclysms, all in the service of their god, Zodiark. In Shadowbringers, the 3rd expansion, we find out why. Before the world was sundered, a great apocalypse happened. Magic itself turned on its users, and they were consumed by abominations. We're informed by the leader of the Ascians, Emet-Selch himself, that both Zodiark and Hydaelyn are primals, the most ancient and powerful of primals. This is why the influence of lesser primals did nothing to us, and we were able to shrug off their control, because we were already serving a far more powerful primal. But throughout the game, we've also seen people become primals, which is what happened to Hydaelyn. Now, Zodiark was summoned when half of humanity was sacrificed. Hydaelyn was summoned based on the hope of those still alive. So Hydaelyn is not and never will be as powerful as Zodiark. So to defeat him, Hydaelyn split the world into 14 parts, the original source and 13 reflections. This weakened Zodiark so that he could be imprisoned. Now, the reason the Ascians are trying to bring about cataclysms is that if a cataclysm happens on both the source and a reflection at the same time, we have what is known as a joining. In other words, the reflection returns to the source. This means that everyone living on the reflection dies. Every time a joining happens, the prison on Zodiark gets a little bit weaker. Finally, in Endwalker, the last of the Ascians decides to just end it all and free Zodiark. Of course, Zodiark is unfinished, which is why his art shows him as only partially complete. Part of him is imprisoned on the other worlds. Once he's free, we are forced to defeat him, or the entire world will come under his thrall. But remember, Zodiark was created to hold back the end times. Now that he's gone, they have returned. So we must journey back in time to find out how this even started. While there, we get to meet Emet-Selch and Venat, back when they were friends. Well, maybe not friends, but respected colleagues. Venat realizes who we are, and that we're from the future because she senses her magic on us. We then explain the whole story. Zodiark, the Sundering, the Rejoinings, everything. Of course, Emet-Selch isn't happy about this, and frankly doesn't believe us. But eventually, we find the Endsinger. We discovered what happened, and what led to the final days. We escape and return to our time, and travel to the center of the Ethereal Sea, where the Mother Crystal resides. While there, Hydaelyn tests our resolve. She transforms, and we fight her. And speaking from experience, that fight is not fun. But it does bring to a close the story of Hydaelyn and Zodiark, both of whom were defeated by our hand. Of course, it's not the end of Final Fantasy XIV. We still need to stop the Endsinger and prevent the destruction of all life in the universe. Just wrapping a few things up. Now, when you fight Hydaelyn, she has several different weapon types, so I wanted to include that in our deck list. But I didn't want to run a Voltron deck. Venat wants us to run other legendary creatures. Also, I wanted to make sure this deck was a budget list, so you can build this entire deck for about $100. But before we get to our deck list, a quick word from our sponsor, Ultimate Guard. I know I'm sponsored, so you may not believe me, but Ultimate Guard katanas are the best sleeves on the planet. They have gorgeous colors like these white ones, are durable and long-lasting, and an absolute joy to shuffle. Let Ultimate Guard protect your cards with katanas. Pick yours up today at your local game store, or order them on Amazon. Link down below. In order to build a functional commander deck, you need lots of different pieces, which is why I try to rely on my handy-dandy checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. Oh, one more quick announcement before we get started. I'm currently streaming over on Gaming with Dana as well as Twitch. It'll mostly be Final Fantasy XIV, but you're more than welcome to pop in and talk about Commander. Honestly, about half my streams are talking about manga, anime, or Commander. For lands, we're running War Room, Minas Tirith, Scavenger Grounds, Rogue's Passage, Myriad Landscape, and 32 Plains. Pretty straightforward. Our mana ramp package consists of Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Marble Diamond, Mind Stone, Felwar Stone, Thrawn Dynamo, Gilded Lotus, the Wind Crystal, White Auracite, Sword of the Animist, Pearl Medallion, Oketra's Monument, Solemn Simulacrum, Wayfarer's Bauble, and Danitha Capuchin Paragon. Mostly mana rocks, but a few cost reducers and some land ramp. For card advantage, we've got Sram, Senior Edificer, Mangara the Diplomat, Matsalanti the Great Door, Tashar, Ancestor's Apostle, Lorn of the Third Path, Endless Atlas, Search for Glory, Secret Rendezvous, Ascend from Avernus, and Archaeomancer's Map. A bit of graveyard recursion and a tutor, but mostly traditional card draw. Our interaction and spot removal package consists of Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Generous Gift, Disenchant, Destroy Evil, Stroke of Midnight, Reprieve, Ultimate Magic Holy, Restoration Magic, Brave the Elements, Mana Tithe, You Cannot Pass, and Heliod's Intervention. Lots of ways to remove annoying permanents. Even a counterspell. Saffron Olive would be proud. For board wipes, we've got Urza's Ruinous Blast, Austere Command, and Mass Calcify. One-sided board wipes are great, but I also love flexible ones as well. The core of our deck consists of Elspeth, Sun's Champion, Skrelv, Deflector Might, Tarion, Soulcleaver, Lae'zel, Blacklist Champion, Thalia, Heretic Cathar, Audric, Lunar Marshal, Zetalpa, Primal Dawn, Mikaeus the Lunarch, Audric, Master Tactician, Gandalf the White, Boromir, Warden of the Tower, and Balin, Wandering Knight. Supporting our plane, we've also got Flowering of the White Tree, Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves, Heroes Podium, Aetir and Prirwin, Godsend, Sting the Glinting Dagger, Blackblade Reforged, and Flaming Fists. Lots of legendary equipment to help trigger our commander. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 52 mana sources split between 37 lands and 15 pieces of ramp. A little high, but our commander has a 7 mana activated ability, so it's fine. 13 pieces of card advantage counting our commander and lands. 13 pieces of interaction. 3 board wipes. 1 piece of graveyard hate in Scavenger Grounds. 1 sudden I win card in Zetalpa Primal Dawn. Have you ever seen what Swiftfoot Boots on Zetalpa Primal Dawn does? And with Hydaelyn giving him +1/+1 every turn, it won't be long before our opponents start crying foul. Now, some of you are asking why Gandalf is included. Well, I like Gandalf, and I think him and Venat would have been friends had they existed in the same universe. But beyond that, I wanted to give judges headaches. Now, from what I understand of the rules, no trumps yes. Gandalf says you get another trigger, but Venat says she triggers only once. But I'm not a judge, so I'll leave that up to them. Are you building a Venat Heart of Hydaelyn commander deck? What about a different legendary creature from the Final Fantasy set? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. You can have a video made or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgie, Nazwin, Conga, Robert, Pi, Kazaris, Patrick, Tiz, Art, Richard, Sint, Boomy, Osra, Justin, Golden Walker, Ernesto, and Midge. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.